On the night of May 6, I woke up at about 2 o'clock in the morning, unable to breathe. I got out of bed and it was an effort to go down to where the bathroom was. As I sat down, instantly I went to sleep. Next thing I know, I'm floating in the living room up near the ceiling. What happened next was a 5-year journey into heaven.
Before we get into Lynda Cramer's story, I just want to take a quick moment and thank the millions of you that helped me grow this channel and share these profound stories. A lot of people that I interview come back from these experiences fundamentally changed, but they still have inner work to do. And every single one of them says the same thing. You have to clear your blocks. And you can meditate, journal, but if you want to move fast, nothing beats talking to someone who really knows what they're doing. What I love about BetterHelp, the sponsors of today's video, is the flexibility. Take the quiz and get matched with a licensed therapist quickly. No driving to an office, no waiting rooms, no rearranging your day. When I personally used them, I unlocked something within me that I genuinely didn't even know I was struggling with. It made me a better person today, and I was no longer held back by the ball and chain I unknowingly attached to myself. When I cleared some of my mental blocks, I felt a huge surge of energy and zest for life. Working became easier, my relationships felt smoother, and I started wanting to do things that I normally didn't have the energy for. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easier. And if you click the link in the description or simply go to betterhelp.com/NDE, you'll get 10% of your first month.
My name is Dr. Lynda Cramer. So let's go back in time to 2001 on the night of May 6. I am honest, I was stressing at this point because my husband and I were struggling with my immigration because at this point I lived in North Carolina, USA. I was married to an American and doing immigration. I got extremely stressed, and on the night of May 6, I woke up at about 2 o'clock in the morning, unable to breathe. I got out of bed and it was an effort to get down the little corridor, and I had to go around the corner to go down to where the bathroom was. As I sat down, instantly I went to sleep. Next thing I know, I'm floating in the living room up near the ceiling. I saw the sheriff come in. I saw the paramedics come in and rush past. I saw a fireman come in. None of them observed me because I couldn't be seen. As I looked down, I did not have feet. My feet simply dissolved just below the knee. But I could hear everything that the paramedics, the fire department, and most importantly, the sheriff, what they were saying. And the time that we were there was 45 minutes. They estimate that from the time that my husband rang 911 until the first paramedics arrived 14 minutes later. 14 minutes. But I was found blue and purple. I was already unconscious, unresponsive when my husband found me. I saw the second paramedics arrive. They had a defibrillator, and they used that on me, as stated in my medical files. So when they wheeled Lynda across in front of me on a gurney, there was no attachment or connection to that body at all. I was now an energy being, and it felt natural. So at this point, floating above all these people, looking down and observing, I didn't blink, I didn't sneeze, I didn't breathe, I didn't feel any sort of physical pain, ache, or other bodily function that we actually have as humans. It felt so normal. So they took my body out on the gurney, and then they all left. My husband was the last person out. He closed the door. But then the door opened and all these blue orbs came in through the door, floating in height with me because I'm up near the ceiling. Some of them were quite large, some of them were tinier, but they were like a dark blue orb. In the middle of each one, it was bright white light, and they emitted energy coming out of them, like a fizzle effect, like you do with sparklers, if you know what sparklers are. So they've all got this energy. They floated around me, hovering, moving. They were intelligent, but they weren't communicating with me. They were communicating with each other, and I was just observing. So at one point, they all just stopped, probably after 5 minutes of when they came into the house. And then they all just went out the door. And then the door shut again. But then I get a tap on my shoulder. I sense it's female, but I didn't see her. And then I go into what I call the fog stage. The fog stage is when you close your eyes, you open your eyes, and you're in a totally different location. Where I found myself was an area of rolling hills with beautiful flowers, colours we don't have here on earth. And these flowers, each one had energy coming out of it. And they knew me. And I knew them. Everything in this space is one. Everything was connected. The flowers knew that I thought that I would squash them when I walked, because now I've got feet again. When I looked down, I had feet. So as I try to move in this field of flowers, the flowers moved. But then I realized I made sense of where I was, and I realized that I was energy and I didn't have a physical body, so I wouldn't crush those flowers. So as I moved, the flowers and myself were in like a bilocation. As my foot came down on the flowers, my foot was in the same space as that energy flower. Everything in this space had it, conscious awareness. Even the music that was constant from the first time I appeared here. There was no speakers, but this music was everywhere. Like a tribal chant repeating over and over. It was magnetic, so it was like attractive. I wanted to be a part of the frequency of what was created by the music. Love, the highest frequency. So in this moment, I realized love is an emotion. Emotion is energy, and energy is a frequency. I could see peripheral all the way around me. So I walked through the city, through the valleys, through the houses, through the villages, down through cobbled stone alleyways, through fields of flowers, interacting with thousands of other people, animals, trees. Everything was living. Everything was conscious. Everything communicates. Everything around us has an awareness of consciousness. Everything is one. I saw a duck, and as I had the intention of being the duck, I became the duck. So I now have a waddle. I've got webbed feet, and I can feel my bill when I say quack. I became other people. I became other animals. I became the mountains and the buildings. Everything is there as a constant reminder of the energy that is love. So I'm in this space, heaven, for what I believe was 18 months. And then I get a tap on the shoulder. Time to go. I find myself outside of this cathedral. Massive. Bigger than anything on the planet. And as I walk in, we're talking timber planks in the floor were probably 300 feet long, 30 feet wide. So you can imagine the size of the trees where this timber was lumbered from. I walk in up towards the front of this church, and up in front of me were 3 beings. They were energy. The 2 on the outside were probably 12 foot tall. The one in the middle would have been 15 feet. And I'm looking up at these beings, and the energy is moving up them like a reverse waterfall, up to where their head is. And the energy is coming up, and as it gets to where their head was, it's rotating left to right and right to left, like clockwise and anti-clockwise at the same time, all inside their head. There was no communication, but I'm looking at this box in front of them. It was energized. Energy is coming out of the box. And I hear inside my head, telepathically, we are not here to judge. But instantly I knew I had to judge. I had to judge every action that I had ever done in my life. So every thought I'd ever had, I have to heal it. I have to process it and create the karmic energy of peace. So I looked inside this box, and there was no walls, no floors, no bottom. It was endless, like an eternity. And inside were all these millions of round orbs, energy balls. And inside each one was a little video screen with a memory, or should I say an intention, which was an action that I had done. And not only was there what I had done in this box, but also there was things that other people had done to me. Every interaction I'd ever done with other people, I had to deal with how they dealt with me as well, which is in heaven, which is all the best positive feelings and emotions that we can have. I pulled out one of my memories, and I'm holding this video screen where it's me pulling my grandmother's cat's tail. I had to heal the thought of pulling the cat's tail. And then I also had to become the cat. I had to feel the pain of what it felt like to have my tail pulled, because now I'm the cat. I can feel my whiskers. I can feel my paws on the grass, and the pain going up my tail, in through my spine, up to my head, because this little girl next to me is just laughingly pulled my tail. I processed probably 8,000 memories in this place. And the funniest thing, I was crying all over the floor. But as soon as we heal that memory and we accept it and we justify why actions were created in the first place, we then can say we've become that peace. And then instantly the water is gone. So I estimate that I was in this place for at least 18 months again. But then I get another tap on the shoulder. This time, out of the fog stage, I'm in this white space. No walls, no floors, no ceiling. And as I'm looking in this white space, way, way off in the distance is a woman standing there. Tiny. And as she walks towards me, she gets bigger and bigger and bigger. She comes towards me. Long brown hair, wearing a pretty simple dress. So as she looks at me, she says, "What are you doing here?" She was angry. First time in, a couple of years, someone's been angry? Because where I've been is just so much love. So much goodness. She calms herself down, patting her dress down, and she says, "Oh, look, my name's Karina. I am your great-great-great-great-grandmother." And then she starts telling me all about the life that she had lived in the 1830s. She told me where they built the house. She told me how they built the house, how to build an axe out of a tree stump, how to get the steel to make the axe handle. She told me about how to make a device that folds over your shoulder, and we take it down to the stream and it folds out in the water so you can clean clothes on it. So it's a washing machine device. She tells me how to make cotton out of wool, so then you can thread it through a needle and make clothing. She spoke about herself 6 months, but then she started telling me about me. She said, "You've got to go back." She said to me, the year I died in 2001, she said, "You're going to have a child. Your child is going to be born in 2006. What? She's telling me about a child that I'm going to have 5 years later? Thank goodness I remembered the date, because I've now got my daughter. She told me that I would work with the police for 10 years. I did work for the police for 10 years, 2002 to 2012. She said I'd need 2 years off to get through the trauma that the police caused. Oh yeah, I needed 2 years because I was diagnosed with chronic post-traumatic stress disorder, which I still have today. Then she said, you will work as a first aid trainer for 2 years. I did, from January 2015, 2 years after I left the police, until January 2017. I was a first aid trainer. 2 years, exactly as she told me in 2001. She told me about earthquakes, she told me about tsunamis, she told me about the volcano in Kilauea, that I would be watching it from afar during the time when everyone cannot leave their homes, which was lockdown. She spoke old school because she's from the 1830s. So I do have to interpret how she said things. You will be watching from afar, so that's like a distant lad. You will be watching it while everyone cannot leave their homes, which is lockdowns. But then she says to me, you've got to go back. And I said, well, how do I go back? I don't know where I am. And she said, have you learnt nothing? All you have to do is think, and you create what it is you want. So I started thinking about the house where I lived. I started thinking about things and objects in the house to get that familiarity back to where I was. And instantly, I've got this pain on my arm. I can feel someone holding my hand, which was so weird. And I can hear a voice, and she's saying, if you can hear me, please squeeze my hand. So I'm squeezing her hand, which felt so weird because I haven't had to use my fingers in like 5 years. And then I hear the woman say, she's really squeezing my hand. She's really squeezing it. And then as I open my eyes, I see the blue tube coming out of my throat, and it was hurting. Hurting? I haven't had a pain for 5 years because I've been in an energetic being. It was hard waking up, learning how to breathe. I said to a nurse, do I have to do this all the time? And she said, if you want to live, yes. And then I got this pain in my stomach, and I called the nurse in, and she said, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I haven't got it. I've got this pain. I don't know. And she said, well, when did you go to the bathroom? I said, why would I go to the bathroom? She says, go and sit on the toilet. And I was thinking, oh my God, like this is going to take away the pain in my tummy. But as soon as I sat on the toilet, I urinated and the pain went away. And when I came out to the nurse, I said, how often do I have to do that? So waking up from being 5 years gone, even though I was only in a coma for a few days and I was clinically dead for 14 minutes or more, but I went away for 5 years. Going to sleep was one of the weirdest things I've ever done. It wasn't really, when I think about what really was weird. Coming home and knowing so many things. I knew what was on the TV before you turned the TV on. Plants, furniture, cars, jewelry, clothing, you name it, now talks to me. I've now got virtually every psychic ability there is. Plants tell me, Please move me into the sun. I want more sun. I hear it inside like telepathy. Clothing tells me what it needs. Cars tell me what's wrong with them. Please tell my owner I've got a hole in my transmission. That sort of thing. Wow. Jewelry tells me who owned it. I see ghosts, I see spirits every day. So my life is still on an adventure. But what do I do these days? I teach people how to be in that love emotion. Our thoughts create energy. We all create our own version of what we see in heaven. And that's why no near-death experiences are the same. But we create a reality on the vibration that we exist in. So the higher vibration we have, the better consciousness we have. So the higher we raise our vibration, the calmer, the more in tune, the more aware we become, the more psychic we become. Every thought is an intention. Every intention creates an action, and every action creates our reality. So our thoughts create our reality. The emotion, whether it's love, happiness, joy, anger, resentment, or frustration, whatever our emotion is, charges the energy. So it's all about perspective when we heal. It's not just our thoughts which create our reality. It's the reaction of what that does to others, which is called a ripple of energy. That ripple effect, we heal it. So if anyone else has ever hurt me or done something really nice for me, I then have to experience that as well because I was part of it. And I experience tenfold that gratitude, that appreciation and love that I feel when somebody else bought me a present or something. And the more negative thoughts we have, we're creating negative energy. This is science. Protons, neurons, electrons. But when we get to an atomic or even subatomic level of conscious thought, we can create anything, which what some people call law of attraction. We create what we think.